AITA for refusing to let my mother-in-law be involved in my life anymore, after she tried to help one too many times. I 36F have been married to my husband, Ethan 38M, for 9 years. His mother, Carol, 64F, has always described herself as a helper. According to Carol, she just wants to make people's lives easier. According to me, Carol has spent the last decade inserting herself into situations that have absolutely nothing to do with her, and then acting hurt when people don't appreciate it. When Ethan and I first got together, I actually liked her. She seemed warm and welcoming. She brought food over when we moved into our first apartment. She remembered birthdays. She always offered advice. The problem was that nobody could ever decline the advice. If you disagreed with Carol, she'd keep bringing the subject up until you either gave in or stopped responding. For example, when Ethan and I adopted a dog, Carol spent months insisting we'd chosen the wrong breed. Every visit somehow included comments about how difficult our dog would become. When he turned out to be perfectly well-behaved, she simply moved on to another topic. Then there was our apartment. Carol didn't think we should rent. When we explained we couldn't afford a house yet, she'd send us property listings anyway, every week. Sometimes multiple times a week. She once emailed me 17 listings in a single day. 17. When Ethan politely asked her to stop, she said she was only trying to help us build a future. That phrase became her favorite excuse. I'm only trying to help. At family gatherings, she'd correct stories I was telling. Not because I was wrong, just because she thought her version sounded better. If I said Ethan and I were planning a weekend trip, she'd immediately start recommending hotels, restaurants, routes, and activities. Then she'd get offended if we didn't follow her suggestions. One Christmas, she bought us matching luggage because she thought our planned holiday itinerary was inefficient. We hadn't asked for advice. She'd simply decided we needed it. The real issues started when Ethan and I finally bought our first home 3 years ago. We were thrilled. Carol was somehow even more thrilled. Within 24 hours, she'd created a spreadsheet. An actual spreadsheet. It included furniture recommendations, paint colors, landscaping plans, and a room-by-room list of improvements. I wish I was exaggerating. At first, I laughed. Then she started showing up every weekend. If we said we were busy, she'd say she was just dropping something off. Then she'd stay for hours. One Saturday, I came downstairs and found she'd removed all the decorative cushions from my living room because she thought they looked cluttered. She had taken them home. My cushions. From my house. When I asked why, she said she thought I'd eventually realize she was right. Ethan made her return them. She acted like I was being unreasonable. The next incident involved our guest room. We had deliberately left it empty because we weren't sure what we wanted to do with the space. Carol became obsessed with turning it into a nursery. The problem was that I wasn't pregnant. We weren't even trying for a baby at that point. Every visit included comments about how useful the room would be someday. One afternoon, she arrived with nursery paint samples. Again, I was not pregnant. I told Ethan I was starting to feel uncomfortable. He agreed his mother could be overbearing, but insisted she meant well. That phrase again, she means well. Fast forward a year. I got pregnant. The moment Carol found out, it was like someone flipped a switch. Suddenly, she had opinions about everything. She didn't like our doctor. She didn't like our chosen hospital. She didn't like our baby names. She didn't like our plan to keep the sex of the baby private until birth. Every decision became a debate. When I experienced complications during my second trimester and was advised to reduce stress, Carol somehow became even more involved. She called constantly. She texted constantly. She sent articles, podcasts, videos, and medical advice from random people online. One morning, I woke up to 23 unread messages from her. 23. When I didn't respond quickly enough, she called Ethan at work to make sure I was okay. I wasn't dying. I was taking a nap. The thing that really upset me happened when we started planning the nursery. Ethan and I had chosen a theme and slowly begun decorating. One weekend, we visited friends out of town. When we returned home, the nursery looked completely different. Different curtains, different decorations, different wall art. Even the furniture had been rearranged. I genuinely thought I'd entered the wrong room. Carol had convinced Ethan's younger sister to help her surprise us. She had used the spare garage code we'd given her for emergencies and spent the entire weekend redecorating. I cried. not because of the decorations, because it felt like another thing had been taken away from us. Another milestone she'd decided belonged to her. Carol couldn't understand why I was upset. She kept saying she'd spent money and effort creating something beautiful. I asked why she thought she had the right to redesign a room in someone else's house. She accused me of being ungrateful. That caused the biggest argument we'd ever had. For a while things were tense. Then our daughter was born. Things somehow became worse. Carol expected daily visits. She expected photos every day. She expected updates every day. If she didn't receive them, she'd contact other family members asking whether something was wrong. She started introducing herself as Grandma Number 1. Nobody knew what that meant. She'd say things like, "This little girl needs me." She constantly referred to herself as part of parenting decisions. "We should start solids soon. We should buy a bigger car seat. We should look into preschool." Who exactly was we? Whenever I corrected her, she'd laugh and say I was too sensitive. The final straw happened 6 months ago. Ethan and I had planned our daughter's second birthday party. A small gathering, close friends and immediate family. Simple. A week before the party, multiple relatives started messaging us asking what they should bring. Relatives we hadn't invited. Confused, I asked where they'd heard about the party. Carol. Carol had apparently decided our guest list was too small. Without asking us, she'd invited over 20 additional people. 20. Some of whom we hadn't seen in years. When I confronted her, she admitted it immediately. She said children deserved big family celebrations. I told her it wasn't her decision. She replied that she was only trying to help. Something inside me finally snapped. I told her I was done. Done with the constant interference. Done with the unsolicited advice. Done with every major life event becoming somehow about her. I said I needed space and wouldn't be communicating with her for the foreseeable future. She cried. She told family members I was punishing her for loving her granddaughter. Now Ethan's family is divided. Some think I should forgive her because she's family. Others think I've tolerated far more than most people would. So AITA for deciding, I don't want my mother-in-law involved in my life anymore. Update. A lot has happened since my original post. First, thank you to everyone who responded. Thousands of comments pointed out something I'd spent years avoiding. The issue wasn't just Carol. The issue was that everyone in the family had spent decades accommodating Carol, including Ethan. After reading the comments, Ethan and I started counseling. For the first time, we talked honestly about how much influence his mother had over our lives. To his credit, he listened. Really listened. He admitted he'd spent years trying to keep the peace because upsetting his mother always resulted in drama. Then something happened that neither of us expected. Ethan's older brother called. Somehow, someone found my post and it had sparked conversations throughout the family. And during those conversations, people started comparing stories. It turned out Carol's behavior wasn't unique to me. Not even close. His brother's wife had experienced similar issues, so had his sister's husband, so had multiple cousins. Everyone had a collection of stories. The same pattern every time. Carol inserting herself into decisions, ignoring boundaries, taking over events, then playing the victim when confronted. What shocked me most was what Ethan's brother revealed next. Years ago, his first marriage had nearly ended because of Carol. According to him, his ex-wife repeatedly begged him to establish boundaries. He never did. Eventually she left. At the time, everyone blamed her. Now, years later, he admitted she had been right. That conversation hit Ethan hard. For the first time he realized this wasn't just me being difficult. This was a family-wide problem. A few weeks later, Carol requested a meeting. She claimed she wanted to clear the air. Against my better judgment, we agreed. The meeting lasted less than 40 minutes. Why? Because she spent the entire time explaining why everyone else was wrong. She didn't apologize. Not once. Instead, she said things like, "I'm sorry people misunderstood me. I'm sorry nobody appreciates everything I do. I'm sorry helping has become a crime." At one point, she actually said she couldn't understand why people were suddenly turning against her after all she'd sacrificed. Then came the bombshell. Carol admitted she'd been deliberately contacting relatives after disagreements with us because she wanted them to pressure us into changing our minds. In her words, she was gathering support. In everyone else's words, she was recruiting flying monkeys. Several family members later confirmed she'd been doing this for years. Whenever someone set a boundary, she'd immediately begin calling relatives to tell them her version of events. That revelation changed everything. People who had previously defended her started backing away, not because she was controlling, because she'd been manipulating family relationships behind the scenes. Today, 6 months later, Ethan and I are doing better than we have in years. Carol no longer receives daily updates. She no longer has unrestricted access to our home. Visits are infrequent and planned in advance. Most importantly, boundaries now have consequences. She still complains. She still tells people we're being unfair. But for the first time, nobody is rushing to fix things for her. As for me, I don't hate Carol. I don't even dislike her. I just don't trust her. And after 10 years of watching her turn every major event in our lives into something about herself, I don't think that trust is coming back anytime soon. So no, I didn't apologize. And no, I don't regret finally saying enough is enough.